from Arizona's family.
All right, Suns Warriors tonight, and usually we get really fired up about this one, but the line is the Warriors by 11 in San Francisco tonight. Will it be that close? What's happening to the Phoenix Suns? Let's get a voice of reason in the land of confusion. Espo zooms in here on Arizona's Family on the Extra Point podcast from PHNX. First of all, glad to see you're sporting the colors, the purple pants and the orange shoes. How are you feeling about tonight's circumstances in San Francisco? Do the Suns do they beat the line? Any chance they win this game tonight?
I feel about as bad as my wife feels about my purple pants. She's not a fan of these, and I'm not a fan of the game tonight. I mean, it's a walking mash unit right now. You're going to see basically a group of four second and third stringers for the Suns, along with Mikal Bridges in this game. I don't have a lot of hope. I think the line is probably even generous at 11, but we've been surprised. This has been the weirdest NBA season I think I've ever seen. I think there's been 92 42-point games up to this point. Same point last year. There was 35 or 36 of them. So this has been a very weird NBA season, and who knows? Maybe we see something bizarre again tonight in Golden State. I'm just not holding my breath on it.
Well, is this kind of an indictment of the regular season? The way rosters look right now and how it seems like I wouldn't spend money to go watch a regular season basketball game because I don't feel like it means anything to the players.
Well, if I'm in Golden State and I get to see Steph and Clay and Draymond tonight, that's I think that is worth the money. But right now, what the Suns are putting out there due to injury, I mean, this isn't load management. If we were talking load management, I'd agree 100% that spending the money on a ticket is ridiculous. This is injury, so I give them a little bit of a pass. It's not as if they don't care about the regular season when it comes to the Suns, but this is one of the worst stretches of luck I've seen, and I watch Arizona sports for a living, so...
Well, okay, so is that sound we're hearing, and we're going to hear a championship window slam shut today as we saw headlines on social media on The Ringer, or is this just as simple as Devin Booker gets back, Cam Johnson gets back, and let's go play some playoff basketball here?
Oh, I think it's slammed shut and the glass might have cracked. There's a small chance. I mean, I'll never say never, and people will talk about tanking right now, but I'm of the belief if Devin Booker comes back in the next month, you can't commit to that. You've got to give him a chance to get in, and if they get healthy, maybe they surprise some people. But this is not last year where they go in as a favorite. This isn't 2 years ago where they surprise and be a darling. This is going to be a slugfest for them to get in the playoffs, and then another grueling round, a couple rounds to try to show that they still belong there. I don't see any clear path for them to win a title. It's going to take luck. It's going to take a hell of a lot of hard work, and it's going to take health, which they have not had all year.
And that's why I'm okay if guys are taking a little more time getting back from injuries right now to get themselves right because of what the New Orleans series took out of them last year, and I think that had a big impact on the end of the Dallas series, especially with Chris Paul was just spent after that perfect performance in New Orleans. But are we concerned at all, or I guess how concerned are you about the Suns even just making the playoffs at this point?
Not overly, but that's until we find out what the reevaluation of Devin Booker comes back with. If he's going to be out through the All-Star break, I start getting a little bit more concerned. How long is DA out? How close is Cam Johnson? There's so many questions that we don't have answers to that I'm not going to say I'm worried, but I've got my hand hovering over the panic button.
No, I mean, for sure. And you just think about it. Next time our NFL team starts 7-0 and our NBA team goes to the finals, would you remind me to enjoy it a little more, please?
Yeah. I mean, that's the only choice we have because we're reminded very quickly of how the other side can look. We're on the upside down now, or maybe this is the right side up. And when they were all winning, that was the upside down. I don't know anymore.
Well, it was a good time to launch a sports television show and a social, I guess, a digital network here in Phoenix, Arizona, as this was on the fly, but on the climb. I think for the Suns, the next 8 games are going to be really rough. What kind of record do you expect them to have if Devin Booker gets a clean bill of health and can come back sometime in February?
I mean, they'll be lucky if they're sitting at 20-30.
Oh man.
I mean, I think that's probably around where they're sitting if Booker comes back within a few days of that reevaluation. Especially, I mean, I thought that before the DeAndre Ayton injury, if he's out extended games, I think the percentage of them winning 2 or 3 of them becomes much less even at that point. This is going to be very reminiscent of those days, the dark days, those days where you were talking number 1 picks, but at least this time it's not because the roster wasn't constructed properly. It's because injuries have decimated said roster.
Is John Lure or Mirza Teletovic available to ride to the rescue?
Oh, you're aiming high. I was looking at, is Alec Peters available? Archie Goodwin? Could we potentially even convince Jamal Crawford to come back for a 3-game stint? Maybe he's got 50 in him at least one more time. I'm in desperation mode. Does Nash have at least 10 games in the tank? I'll call anybody that has anything left.
All right, you have to pick Brandon Knight or Brendan Wright. Which one are you? Did I get him right?
You got him right.
Do we have a Brandon Wright also?
It was Brendan Wright, Brandon Knight, and then that spelled good night, I believe, whenever those two were on the court.
Do you feel like DeAndre Ayton is going to be here come playoff time if there is a playoff time?
I mean, yes, but simply because of the disgraced future former owner apparently having some control over what trades happen, and DeAndre Ayton being able to veto any deal that comes up this year due to them matching his max contract from Indiana. So that path seems very difficult. I think any larger trade seems extremely difficult at this point from some of the reporting we've seen from national outlets when it comes to the parameters in which James Jones and this front office are operating under. I think we'll be lucky to see a Jay Crowder trade at the most at this point.
Oh my goodness. So why not just get him back? Like, I mean, I just don't understand. It seems like that would be beneficial for both sides. Would it not?
How do you walk that back on either side at this point, though? I mean, it's gone on for far too long. If we were 2 weeks in and they both sides said, you know what, we're going to make the best of it. But at this point, you're pot committed. This is January. You've already paid him $5 million to sit at home. At this point, it's either you find a deal or I think you just pay him out the rest of the year. I'm not buying him out if I'm James Jones. That's too much of a reward for causing a lot of this mess. So at this point, it's you're going to have to trade him. I don't think he's coming back in those doors at all. I don't care what sweet talk you give him right now. Hey, you can start for this team now. Yeah, so can pretty much anybody at this point.
As I look at it, January 15th, that's when things can start going. Are there any dominoes you feel like could fall, could be a sign of other dominoes to fall to get something to happen for the Suns? Anything you're watching?
Well, I'm watching Toronto and what goes on there. Do they become a seller? Is that the mentality they'll go with? Gary Trent Jr. reportedly is already on the block. Do they look to move a Fred VanVleet, who is on an expiring contract and they couldn't reach an extension over the summer? Do they get really desperate and does Siakam become available? I don't think that'll happen, but you got to watch teams like that on the fringe that something may shake loose. But I don't see a big deal. I think you're dealing around the fringes, which is the worst case scenario, because if you don't leverage these expiring contracts to bring in guys that have that you want around, either have a contract or that you'd want to re-sign in the offseason, you're in salary cap purgatory. There's no good way to put it. You're not going to have a lot of money to spend on free agents. So you either need to have a guy with his bird rights that you can re-up regardless of the cap, or a guy that's under contract for the long term. If the Suns are truly handcuffed, this goes well beyond this year and has implications into next year and potentially the year after as well.
All right, so assuming that's the case, who's in deeper trouble here? Your Phoenix Suns or your Arizona Cardinals?
The Suns in the short term, because the Cardinals at least will have some false hope with, hope, false or otherwise, with a new GM and a new head coach and an off season. We've still got 3 months of Suns basketball and potentially no cavalry coming in to save the day outside of the guys that are injured. I want to believe that Devin Booker comes back and rights the ship. But until we find out what that reevaluation is, we're sitting here with no real idea.
All right, so what is giving you hope? Spring training just around the corner. Excited about the Super Bowl, ASU hockey.
The 16th hole at the Waste Management Open.
Nice. Are you gonna be out there? You taking the show on the road?
I will. I'll probably be out there on Wednesday at the very least for the shot at glory and everything that goes on at the Pro-Am. That's always a good time, and you can drown your sorrows one way or another out there and forget what else is going on in the world.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that with the Phoenix Suns lately. What are you guys doing tonight? Are you on after the Warrior game? Where can we find you this week?
We are post-game live tonight and tomorrow night after the game, pre and post-game. So you can catch us there on the PHNX Sports YouTube page or wherever you get your podcast. Just search PHNX Suns.
And where can we get like an autographed picture of Espo with the shoes and the pants? Are you gonna be out and about tonight? Where can we find you?
Well, I'm gonna be eating dinner at Illegal Pete's if you want to come over and get me to sign there, or just DM me on Twitter at Espo and I'll send it to you. And Mark, yours is already in the mail.
Okay,
so you don't
good.
have to worry about it.
Autographs in the mail. That's yes. I got an autograph picture of Herschel Walker when I was a kid. By the way, when he's the running back of the Dallas Cowboys, I sent away for some memorabilia and got an autographed picture of Herschel. So maybe we'll put that up here on the wall. And
right now, I'm not sure which one's worth more, mine or Herschel's. So.
Hey, well, thanks so much for taking time to chat with us, and hopefully tonight this podcast is maybe a little irrelevant because they shocked the world, and the Phoenix Suns will be back on the winning track.
Hopefully, that would be very nice.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS 5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.